This video is brought to you by our patrons. If you like our content and want to support the channel, head on over to patreon.com/themindsculptors. A few months ago, I was having a discussion with Pongo and Cobblepot about the differences between cEDH decks and traditional 60-card competitive decks. We talked about a variety of differences that we will surely discuss in a podcast at another time, but what it did was spark an idea, trying to port over iconic decks from Magic's past over into cEDH, while still preserving as much as possible of the original deck. I tossed the idea of making a series of videos on this topic out to a few other content creators, and everyone seemed to be excited to try their hand at this. So with that said, I present to you the Iconic Masters cEDH Deck Building Challenge. For my deck, I chose Vintage Shops Prison. To look at the overall game plan of the deck, it is a Golos deck trying to utilize Mishra's Workshop and other fast mana that the format provides to quickly turbo out stacks pieces that make it very difficult for much of the cEDH metagame to adjust. We want to be playing taxing effects like Sphere of Resistance, Thorn of Amethyst, Lodestone Golem, and others to slow the game way down. We have a handful of lock pieces like Possess Portal and Karn and Mycosynth Lattice, and we are generally able to break parity through those by activating Golos with Gigantha. So what are our win cons then? Well, we play a fairly new combo that is made available by the newly printed land, the World Tree from Kaldheim. With the World Tree out, we can activate it to get any number of God cards and put them onto the battlefield. So what do we get? We get Perforos, God of the Forge, Changeling Berserker, Changeling Hero, and Changeling Titan. Why these three changelings? Well, they all have champion a creature. So when they ETB, they each target each other and will create a loop with infinite enter the battlefield triggers for Perforos. This isn't how Shops Prison would win in Vintage, however, it does help us close out the game in an efficient way. Why choose Golos as our commander? Well, simply put, it is a Shops tutor in our command zone that we are very often able to turbo into on turn 1. If we have Shops in our opener, even better. We can then use Golos's ETB ability to fetch up a Tabernacle, to put extra pressure on our opponents, a Field of the Dead to start building a board presence, or the World Tree to close out the game. So let's now take a dive into the creature suite. First is our taxing effects. Lodestone Golem and Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. When these cards are played out early, they do a very good job of slowing the game down and making your opponents take extra time to develop their board. Next we have Ethereum Sculptor and Foundry Inspector. These two cards help act as parity breakers for the deck since a vast majority of the spells we will be casting are artifact spells. We also are playing Metalworker as a way of turboing out both an early Golos or an early payoff like Godpharaoh's statue. Goblin Welder and Goblin Engineer help us get stacks pieces onto the board quickly and cheaply. Phyrexian Revoker allows us to shut off problematic engines like Thrasios or Jeska. The remaining creatures are all valuable staples that help pull immense weight in leveling out the list. Aethersworn Canonist works as almost an entirely one-sided rule of law effect since we are casting way more artifact spells than any other card type. Dockside Extortionist, Drannith Magistrate, Gilded Drake, Opposition Agent, and Phyrexian Metamorph are all solid cards within the colors that help supplement our prison game plan. Our sorcery suite looks fairly standard for a list like this: Gitaxian Probe, Imperial Seal, and Demonic Tutor. The one exception is Sylvan Scrying. This card has proven to be a completely necessary card, whether it is getting a Workshop to quickly ramp or a Tabernacle to slow your opponents down. It serves a variety of effective purposes that our deck misses when it's gone. enchantment suite is fairly standard, albeit much more slim than other 5-color decks. We are playing a slim 5 counterspells, with many of them cut off because of having Gigantha as our partner. However, Deflecting Swat and Fierce Guardianship pull much of the free interaction weight, and they do their job very well. The most important card in the instant suite, however, is Crop Rotation. Crop Rotation turns any single land that produces green mana into a Mishra's Workshop on turn 1, effectively turning every green mana producing land in the deck into a fetch land for Workshop or Tabernacle. The Artifact suite has a lot going on, boasting an enormous 25 non-creature artifacts. We are playing every quick artifact ramp card we can play, as well as a few mana neutral cards like Chromatic Sphere and Star to help us draw into more pieces or answers, as well as color fix us. Of course, Fear of Resistance and Thorn of Amethyst are two very important pieces to the deck, especially in tandem with Thalia or Lodestone Golem. While they don't overlap particularly well with Trionosphere, landing either of them early can be backbreaking to most decks in the format. Mystic Forge is an important include, allowing us to have a fair amount of top deck manipulation. The Artifact suite also features a combination of cards that all work towards the deck's overall goal individually, but together will allow you to win the game. These 3 cards are Sculpting Steel, Krark Clan Ironworks, and Spine of Ishsaw. When you combine these 3 cards with an artifact cost reducer, you can infinitely cast Sculpting Steel as a copy of Spine of Ishsaw to destroy your opponent's entire board. Here's how it works. Let's say you already have KCI and Spine in play. You cast Sculpting Steel as a copy of Spine. It ETBs, you blow something up. Then you sack it to KCI and it returns to your hand because of the second ability that Spine has, gaining 2 colorless mana. Now, if you don't have a cost reducer, you can only do this so many times. However, with the cost reducer, you can keep casting Sculpting Steel and use it as a way to win the game. The enchantment suite is very standard, featuring Carpet of Flowers, Mystic Remora, Sylvan Library, Rhystic Study, and Smothering Tithe. Nothing to write home about here, all very good and standard cards to see in an enchantment suite. So how has the deck performed overall? Well, so far in playtesting it against many of the top decks in the format, I have a record of about 9-14. Mulligans can be punishing from time to time. More often than not, games that I aggressively mulliganed, I lost, and games that I kept solid 6 or 7 card hands, I was, at the very least, competitive in those games. I wouldn't say that this is the best deck in the format whatsoever, but it certainly is powerful. At the end of the day, the challenges I faced making this list ultimately came down to needing to supplement the game plan of the 60-card Ancestor. Even in Vintage, Shop relies on having multiples of several cards, including Workshop. So that is why there are additional stacks elements that you wouldn't see in traditional shops. So did I succeed in keeping the spirit of Vintage Shop's prison alive? I like to think so, but let me know what you think of the deck down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Hey everyone, really appreciate you checking out this video. This is something that we've been working on for, oh gosh, about 2 months, maybe 3 months now. So it's really awesome to finally get this out in the wild. If you like this video and want to see more things like that, make sure to like and subscribe, and say so down in the comments. Thank you guys for checking this out. Also, thanks to all of our patrons. If you also want to be a patron, you can go over to patreon.com/themindsculptors in our link tree in the description below. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can help us out right down there.